you punsy twit! If you think I'll just go to jail and rot, you're living in a dream world!
Good. Dreams save us. Dreams lift us up and transform us into something better. And on my soul, I swear that until my dream of a world where dignity, honor, and justice are the reality we all share, I'll never stop fighting. Ever.
So do you remember at the end of Under the Red Hood where Batman and Jason have that moral debate about whether Batman should kill, even if the person in question is the most undeniably evil piece of human debris in existence? Well, this movie is that, only told through the lens of a 5-year-old. The world is getting tired of supervillains breaking out of prison and killing more people, and many see Superman as one of those chiefly responsible for perpetuating that paradigm. In comes the new team of superhumans known as the Elite, who, while inexperienced, have remarkable talent and power, and are willing to kill and torture to achieve their own ends. Through a series of encounters, they meet, interact with, and ultimately come to blows with Superman, culminating in their assassination of the villain Atomic Skull, and resolving to end the conflict between two rival countries themselves through mass destruction of each of their forces. In the end, Superman confronts them and, through the conflict, manages to sway the populace back into his favor by showing what could happen if people with powers like theirs choose to disregard innocent life, only to bait and switch to reveal he didn't actually cross the line of killing, and everything is resolved with the Elite being put into prison, having been robbed of their powers. This is the new worst movie. I have not raged as hard as I have when I watched this film in a while, and the more I thought about it post-watch, the angrier I got. I could bitch about the aesthetic, which I hated, the terrible direction of most scenes, the subpar to standard acting job, the characters, of which only 2 had any amount of substance, but no. The moral debate is so shallow. As I said, it's like we're watching through the lens of a 5-year-old. The entire debate revolves around whether it is within a superhuman vigilante's rights to kill the supervillains that they fight, only it's done in the most black and white way that I've ever seen in comic book media. If you kill, in the logic of this movie, you are automatically evil. Any half-hearted attempts that the movie tries to say otherwise are null because it contradicts itself and shoots itself in the foot every step of the way. In their first scene, the titular Elite team kills a dog just for it barking at them. Already, they are evil, and I don't mean that facetiously. It's common in media to use some mundane little evil act, like kicking a dog, to show us the extent of a character's villainy. They do it not as an ends justify the means or for any material gain, they just do it because it's writing shorthand for I'm evil, don't have sympathy for me. It even has its own TV tropes entry if you want to read about more examples. It's revealed toward the end of the movie that every member of the Elites are criminals, and that their records were washed clean when they were recruited by the British government to try and make them into new Supermen for their own ends.
Mr. Black's backstory is a load of rubbish. Failing to mention that his sister is still alive is a good example. And that dear old dad suffered a massive stroke when Chester decided he was due for one. And how Vera's rescue resulted in the deaths of 12 people when he crushed the train that hit her. The rest of the team isn't much better. No murders, but criminal records a mile long, all wiped clean when they were recruited.
So right there, we learn that none of them really care about justice or about doing what's right. They just want to kill and cause destruction. Manchester Black grins like an evil little minion when he causes people harm. Jason Todd never did that. He never lied to the public or presented himself as anything more than a scumbag. Yes, he felt wrongly justified in doing all of these horrible things, and he mocked those who thought they were on top, only to be knocked down by Jason. But at the end of the day, he believed that what he was doing was right. He believed that his actions were the least of all possible evils, and that he was ultimately still trying to save lives. The only one where this is debatably so in the Elite team is Manchester Black, who acts as the Elite's leader, and is the only one with more than one dimension to his character. The hat guy is an alcoholic, the chick is super f***ing thirsty, and the black guy is thirsty for the chick, I guess?
Even with his ass kicked, it's still a fine ass.
Remember who kicked it, baby.
That is literally all the characterization they get, and that's being generous. Manchester Black is a bit different in that he has a sad, dark, very sad backstory with a dead mother, alcoholic father, and a little sister that he had to protect. It's told with about as much subtlety as the train had when almost killing his sister, and that Superman would believe such an obvious tall tale without getting any kind of second perspective makes him look like a raging idiot. Chester, as he's called in the movie, seems to, on some level, feel justified in taking these actions, but there's no nuance to them. When given the opportunity, his first option to get information is to torture the terrorists that they catch. Like, the team just saved the terrorists' lives. It was like after this subway was sinking or something. So, wouldn't it be worth at least asking for some information in exchange for that little solid? His first solution to ending the conflict between the two countries is to murder the people in charge of both of them and let civil war ensue in both of them in the mad power vacuum? What was the plan there? Instead of trying to talk to Superman and find some kind of middle ground with him and his idiotic ideals, he immediately defaults to acting like a whiny emo prick who's all like, the world is doomed, man. The people are sheep and the criminals are everywhere, dude. We gotta fight the power, bro, and take this place back. Imagine I said that in a British stoner accent. In truth, this whole movie could have been avoided if the characters were at all reasonable. As I said, absolutely zero effort was made to find any kind of common ground. It's just one stubborn asshole yelling at another stubborn asshole and vice versa, where no one budges an inch and nothing changes except that the conflict makes everyone hate each other. Superman also has nuance to his argument, which makes rooting for him next to impossible. All he offers to the elite in response to their actions of, killing people is, killing is wrong, we should leave it to the rule of law, without explaining why or how that is accomplished to make the pill easier to swallow. He just keeps saying it over and over and over again as if it's going to change Chester's mind on, like, the 16th attempt. Not to mention, it just paints Superman as, like I said, a stubborn asshole. It's established right from the outset of the movie that Superman's methods of crime fighting are flawed. Whether the onus is on him or the system that fails to hold all of these superpowered individuals is neither acknowledged nor really important for this argument. The fact of the matter is that Superman defeats villains, they break out of prison, and more people die. If Superman is unwilling to help fix the system and help contain these individuals, of which the movie doesn't even show him thinking about, then he's either lazy or an asshole who only does the bare minimum to keep being the big superhero. If he's unwilling to change either his methods or the system in place, then I want him to lose and be replaced. At that point, he's just a police officer. Should we blame them for the crime that occurs? Obviously not. But the difference between a police officer and Superman is that Superman is Superman. He has a fortress of solitude with an army of robots. Are you telling me that he didn't even think of maybe helping the authorities hold Atomic Skull? Are you telling me that he's unwilling to do anything but stop the supervillain's immediate threat? How the am I supposed to root for this guy if any of that's the case? And by the end of this movie, Superman doesn't offer any solutions. He doesn't change to account for this new idea presented to him, if radically so. He just puppet masters everything to prove that he was right all along and that there's no reason to change because what he is doing is morally right. F off, Smallville, you self-righteous piece of alien trash. And I want to talk about that ending. The entire setup is so stupid. So the elite, for no reason, give Superman a day before they fight. Then Superman treats it as if it's some life-ending threat that he could easily die when fighting them, and Lois sobs into his arms and all. And then he leaves a note for her in the morning, and we're led to believe that that was it, that was all he did during the night is just sleep with Lois and had her cry. But as it turns out, Superman had a plan. Get knocked around a shit ton, pretend to snap, pretend to kill the elite, and show the world how scary it is to have a Superman that would willingly kill. Aside from the obvious flaw of you're strawmanning the argument, you piece of garbage, I have to ask several questions. Why did the elite give Superman a day to prepare? Why didn't Superman tell Lois about his plan instead of making her worry herself to death like that? How did he know he could survive a psychically induced seizure? How did he know he could survive the fight at all when, from the feats they showed during the fight, he had never seen the full extent of their powers? But most of all, off. There is no way that his army of robots could save all those people in the perfect way to make it look like Superman had killed them. Not only is that whole idea ridiculously improbable to make consistent. Not only did Superman not know that Manchester Black would even teleport back down to Earth so he could show that whole lie to him and quote-unquote prove his point, not only was it absolutely ridiculous that the Elite's extra-dimensional bug-based thing could put oxygen on the moon, Manchester Black is a telepath. Earlier in the film, he got a splitting headache just from hearing distant, panicked thoughts from a subway car drowning or whatever. And yet he couldn't have heard the thoughts of all those people hiding behind that shitty papier-mâché rubble? Are you serious? Are you f***ing serious? If you couldn't tell, I hated this movie pretty much from top to bottom. The only good bit I saw in it was that the music during the moon fight was alright, and the direction when Superman was catching the missiles wasn't trash. But other than that, I couldn't find a damn thing to praise, which is really rare for a movie, at least in my experience. I can buy a lot of ridiculous things. I can put up with a lot of flaws, but if there is nothing good about a movie other than it looks pretty, then piss off with that garbage. I don't want to watch it. In general, I don't like to watch bad movies because I just get too into them. I get too invested in seeing what could have been. In this particular movie's case, I think there was about 30% of a blueprint for a decent moral debate on whether or not superheroes should be allowed to kill. And it's not like they even brought up interesting arguments, like whether they should only kill based on how many people the supervillain killed, or whether or not the police have been given a shoot-to-kill order, or if a superhero could have like a court hotline so that they could pass judgments as the crimes are committed or something. That last one is really stupid, but it would have at least served to highlight a couple of the nuances with the issue. As it is, we have a black and white morality play, which is just f***ing terrible. From the start, the Elite are shown through storytelling shorthand to be the bad guys. There is no moral gray area, no debates, no interesting philosophy to consider. It's just good versus bad, and that's a real shame. If you want to watch this movie, I'd recommend the last 5 minutes of Under the Red Hood. Otherwise, stay as far away as humanly possible and thank the great comic gods that Dark Knight Returns is next.